So just when Democrats thought their anti-voter ID wall was impenetrable, one of their own senators actually just blew a massive hole in their entire narrative. John Fetterman, John Fetterman, he just admitted what we've all known for years. And the Democrat establishment is absolutely panicking right now because this isn't just about one rogue senator speaking truth. This exposes the entire Democrat voter fraud infrastructure we've been talking about for years. When Fetterman admits 84% of Americans support voter ID, guess what? He's confirming what Trump has said all along. The Democrats oppose basic election security. Guess what? Because they need the chaos to win. And think about your vote being diluted by fraudulent ballots. Think about illegals potentially swaying elections that determine your taxes, your kids' schools, your constitutional rights. And here's the political earthquake. If more Democrats follow Fetterman's lead, Trump's SAVE Act becomes unstoppable, fundamentally transforming how America conducts elections. But while politicians debate election security, there's another security issue flying under the radar. We have breaking tonight. Wall Street fixates on gold, silver, and headline commodities. There's a strategic metal quietly driving defense policy, military procurement, and geopolitical planning behind the scenes. It's not flashy, but most investors never talk about it. But governments and defense contractors are stockpiling it aggressively. This isn't speculation, it's strategic necessity. From missile guidance systems to advanced electronics, this metal powers America's defense superiority. Yet supply chains remain vulnerable, controlled by foreign adversaries who could cut us off tomorrow. Smart Americans are positioning themselves now before mainstream markets catch on. And while others chase trendy investments, the real wealth protection play might be sitting in plain sight. SAGA Metals connects you with the resources Washington does not want you to know about. Because in uncertain times, real assets matter. Now we're going to get back to this Democrat civil war that's brewing. Let's get into it. So here's what makes this even more explosive. Fetterman isn't just supporting voter ID. He's calling out his own party's hypocrisy on the filibuster. And remember when Democrats wanted to kill the filibuster? We're going to go back to the Wayback Machine to just a couple of years ago. They wanted that to ram through their agenda. Now they're hiding behind it to block election security. Again, it only works when they're in majority. Everything else is just bad stuff. Don't worry about it. Trump's evil. And Trump's response to that, guess what? He's doubling down because it's Trump. The SAVE Act, knowing momentum is building. He's doubling down, guys, and he's not messing around. Let's get into the action on X here. Let's check it out. So we've got Gunther Engelman talking. Kevin O'Leary just shocked a leftist CNN panel by dropping truth on the Save America Act. And he said every country in Europe, France, Switzerland, Australia solved this problem decades ago. Why can't we get our stuff together? You got to be a citizen to vote, and you got to prove it. It's not hard. You got to prove it every single time you guys go to get a pack of smokes or get something to drink or go to a bar or get on an airplane. You got to have your real ID. How hard is it to have the same thing for elections? Let's see.
Every metric. Every 24 months, we go through this debate over and over again. When every country in the Nordic countries in Europe, France, Switzerland, Canada, Australia, solved this problem decades ago. A, you got to be a citizen to vote. You got to prove it. We all agree at the table on that one. Number two, there's such advancement in technology to make sure there's no cheating. We should implement it here and get all this crapola over with. It's getting almost boring every 24 months. Oh, the election's rigged. Oh, this guy's doing this guy's doing that. No other country has this narrative.
Kevin,
Nobody.
I agree with you. It is getting incredibly
it's ridiculous.
boring. We talk about this all the time. It's incredibly boring, but it's also not an actual problem. Like when you look at the statistics, illegals voting is not an actual problem in this country. You do need to show ID
you agree,
to be able to vote.
If you're not a citizen,
it is 0.
you can't vote.
I
Yeah, we
would
agree with that, but
absolutely
let
agree
me
with that,
help
but that's
out.
not what the problem is.
Gotcha.
The problem is that we have 0.001% of people that are illegally voting. The Heritage Foundation said that...
I'm going to cut in on that one. So 0.03, whatever number she had, how do they even have those numbers if they won't even admit that that's even happening? And if you go to some mayors of some towns and some school board races, those votes are decided by 3 to 4 votes in some cases. And if 15 people voted that shouldn't have voted, guess what? That changes your mayor. That changes your school board. And your school board and your local governments are the ones that levy your taxes. That's all being dictated from it. We have state reps in Minnesota and Illinois that aren't even legal citizens, and they're representatives making the laws. And these same illegal immigrants are police officers carrying weapons allowed to fire on American citizens. Let's get back into it.
3 related fraud cases since 2017. The Brennan Center for Justice says there's 100 confirmed instances since the 1980s. This is not a real problem. The problem the Trump
Garbage.
administration is trying to solve is that they are not doing well. They are not going to do well in the midterm elections, and they are coming up to it to find a
yes or no?
But that's not
It
the
is
question.
it's already illegal.
No
It's
one is
already
doing
illegal
that. That's already illegal.
Is it?
It's already illegal to vote if you're not a citizen.
Why not just say if you cheat and steal and you're illegally voting, you go to jail? Oh my goodness, what a concept.
That's already the law. Go ahead, Tesla.
They know that. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's already the law, but it needs to be enforced. When you go to Minnesota and you go to California and you get a driver's license, Illinois, the same thing. New York, same thing. Michigan, the same thing. Notice a trend in all those states I just mentioned? They're all blue states. When you get your driver's license from one of those states, you are automatically registered to vote. In Illinois, they have universal mail-in ballots. So they're just going to mail a ballot to your house. And they just don't even know if you're a citizen or not, because guess what? Everybody gets a driver's license. They don't care. Look at the CDL catastrophes. They want people to vote. That's why they're doing this. That's why this system is engineered the way it is. And when they get to the bottom and they actually see how many people are voting, that 0.03% is going to be a lot more than that. And there's going to be a day of reckoning for those people. But O'Leary's bombshell about global voter ID standards sets up the perfect contrast. While he's calling for basic citizenship verification, Chuck Schumer has a very different plans for America's voting rolls. Chuck Schumer's got to go, guys. He has to go. From Thomas Sowell quotes, it says, Chuck Schumer, the ultimate goal is to get a path for citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumenteds there are. They know exactly how many there are because their congressional votes rely on that. Watch.
The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
Yeah, well, you know what, Chuck Schumer, they all want that because they want to make it permanent. They wanted open borders. That's the whole plan. Obama was the deporter in chief, first term, second and a half term. But come 2014, he changed his flip entirely. He just said, open the borders. Who cares? Democrats want this. We know we're going to lose. The numbers were trending against Democrats. So they opened the borders, flooded it, and anybody who wanted to oppose it was racist. You remember that. Anytime you say, oh, illegal immigrants, you can't say illegal immigrants or undocumented. You can't say undocumented. Now they're paperless. And they keep changing the goalposts. They keep making us change the words that we use. Can't do that. They want to say America's a democracy. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. If you can keep it, let's get to it. All right, so Schumer's push for mass amnesty becomes even more suspicious when you see how he used to talk about voter fraud. And Gary, this next clip will blow your mind. I'm Tom, not Gary, guys. So anyways, Eric Daughtry says, holy crap, Chuck Schumer is going viral for demanding ID checks to prevent fraud in the late 1990s. They were all on board with this 20 years ago. Obama was on board. The Clintons were on board. Everybody was on board for voter ID and keeping the illegal immigrants out of our country. It flipped because they knew they were going to lose. Let's see what he has to say. Watch.
Let's admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a social security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a social security card. This is an anti-fraud amendment. Over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud.
Well, I mean, okay, how has that changed in the last 15 years? It hasn't changed. It's all because of fraud. But these guys are instigating it, allowing it, and they want this to happen. They have to have it happen. Look at all the different agencies and fundamental things that are set up to give people free health care, free driver's licenses, money, cell phones, you name it. These people are getting it for free the second they cross their border. So they've been getting it from the Democrat Party. If they get amnesty for 11 million people, they just got 11 million more votes if they're not voting already. The whole thing is a scam. The whole party is a scam. But the hypocrisy is staggering because it gets worse. While Schumer flip-flops on voter ID, investigators are uncovering exactly the kind of fraud he used to warn about. Holy F. Nick Shirley found 108 people registered to vote in one home. Shocking. That happens all over the country. We had a person on air a few years ago, David Shostoka is one of attorneys for Trump. He went into Pennsylvania as an attorney during the election, and he found thousands of people registered at single addresses. This happens all over the country. A woman wanted to show how easy it was to commit voter fraud that she registered her dogs to vote, and guess what? They voted. A woman voted four times, but she was already dead. Passed the Save America Act. Now, let's see what Nick Shirley was up to. He's a great guy.
Okay,
Because she's 100 years old and she voted last election from here.
Can you see my? I said I want.
I just want to make sure you're not 126 years old.
No, I'm not.
And do you think it's possible like illegal migrants could be voting?
Not really.
Do you know where the ballots might have gone? Like for 108 people, that were registered here?
When it comes to fraud, most people think about money. However, there's another potential massive fraud story taking place in America, one tied to the most consequential system in our country, which is our voting system, voter integrity. What even are we? And there's one state that is the breeding ground for potential voting fraud, and that is California, where it can take up to 1 month to count all of the votes, no voter ID, and millions of ballots are cast by mail. And with voter rolls that are extremely vulnerable to errors, such as over 200 people who are over the age of 125 years old registered to vote in certain areas. And now to see how easy it is to vote, I headed to the location to register to vote inside the state of California. Now this is the register of voters right here. And I want to ask him, why don't you need voter ID to vote here inside of California? I was curious, how come in California you don't need voter ID to vote?
Because when you sign your affidavit, you're swearing that you're telling us the truth, and we compare the.
So again, I'm going to cut in real here. All of these systems in all of these states are based on the trust system. You sign an affidavit saying that you are allowed to vote and you're a legal citizen of the U.S. There are no further checks than that, period. End of story. And that's how all of this is happening. There are no checks and balances on this. They just trust that you're being honest. But how many times people lie about poker? How many times do people lie about, what size shoe they wear? I mean, it's pretty systemic for people to have that happen. And they're just trusting millions of people that they're not lying about what their citizenship status is.
Signature that you put on your application.
Battery 65%.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it leaves any room for error with voter ID, or? Yeah, I'm just curious because I want to make sure that our elections are as fair and honest as possible, and I feel like voter ID is just something super simple to have. And do you think it's possible illegal migrants could be voting?
Not really. How? I mean, what's showing their ID?
Yeah, if they don't have their ID and they could just sign on behalf of Richard Sherman, then they could technically vote, right?
They would be lying.
Yeah, but what if they just don't?
They would be lying, was her response to that. Somebody that's sitting there registering people to vote, you have to trust that they're telling the truth. And it's everybody needs to be a Nixon. Everybody needs to go out there and do what he's doing, Shirley's doing, and getting out there and actually getting the stories in. Send them in to us. Tag us in the videos. We'd love to share some of the things that you guys are doing. Everybody's got a phone, and everybody can be a journalist. We would love to see it. So these aren't isolated incidents. The evidence of systemic vulnerabilities is creating cracks in the Democrat wall. And one surprising senator just broke ranks. You know what? After John Fetterman had his stroke, I mean, he's kind of coming back to the middle. It's incredible to see that he's one of the only voices of reason in the Democrat Party. And at first I didn't like the guy. And now I'm like, wow, he's making sense. And he's in the middle. He's still a Democrat. He still votes with Dems on so many issues. But he's bringing it back to maybe a Kennedy Democrat style. From Eric Daughtry, says, breaking, Democrat Senator John Fetterman announces he would support a standalone voter ID bill. Question, a clean bill just showing ID to vote, you'd support that? Yeah, I'm a Democrat. That's not going to freak out. So Pass America Save Act. Let's check it out.
You had a clean bill just showing your ID to vote. You would support that legislation?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm a Democrat that's not going to freak out. The world didn't end what happened in Wisconsin. And now in Georgia, for example, which I think skews red, I think we agree. And after the law, they elected 2 Democrat senators, too. So for me, that's kind of where we're at. So there's a lot to impact on that.
Understood.
So, I mean, even John Fetterman's on board with the voter ID. How many other Democrats can we actually get to say it? I mean, I wish Chuck Schumer would vote for it. And we've got video showing him that he was saying that. We have video on so many Democrats because they've all been in office for 60 years, right? They've been in forever. Most politicians, they should have term limits. But they're all saying this 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Why has it changed? Why has it changed so much? But Fetterman's admission is seismic. He's openly defying his own party leadership and validating everything conservatives have been saying about voter ID for a very long time. From Gunther Engelman, we have Fetterman just said the quiet part out loud on Maria Bartiramo's show. At the end of the day, showing basic ID to vote is a very reasonable idea. There's one sane Democrat left in the party. Hopefully more will join the ranks.
We, the Democrats, we wanted to eliminate the filibuster. We called to eliminate the filibuster, and now we find ourselves that we love it now. And that reminds people that the filibuster is important about bringing on the other parts of to have a conversation. And now for me, there's other parts of SAVE Act that's been problematic for Democrats. But for me as a Democrat, just fundamentally at the end of the day, showing basic ID to vote is a very reasonable idea. And I think 84% of Americans in the last polling from Pew supports that.
When you go overseas and you go to all the places that vote and they have a democracy or a functional republic or a democracy, most of the countries, including Iraq, Afghanistan, Europe, pick a country. I think Germany, you have to have voter ID. England, you have to have ID for it. Then you have to have ID in Italy, along with a lot of other countries, including most of South America, most of the Middle East, and almost all of Asia. And America, that's saying that, women are too stupid to change their last names. They've been doing that for a while. Their narrative is entirely off, and it's off-putting. They're saying African Americans don't know how to use a printer. That's something Kamala Harris just said the other day. It's so stupid. They think we're stupid. They think you're stupid. They think you don't know what to do as an adult. It's insane. And if you don't even have an ID on you walking down the street and a cop asks you to identify, guess what? You're going to go to jail so they could figure out who you are. With even Democrats starting to crack, the pressure is building for comprehensive election reform. But Trump and his allies want to go even further, and I hope they go to the max. From Salty Goats, everyone agrees we need to remove illegals from the census. Yes, we do. Let's see what they say. So it's official. 18 Republicans were robbed of 18 House seats and electoral votes because illegals are counted in the census. Yeah, shocker. Red states get undercounted while blue states ballooned with non-citizen Democrats and holding a plus 18 seat advantage. And that is because those sanctuary states knew what they were doing when those people flooded the area. They got extra apportionments. They wanted to have all of that happen before Obama left because they knew Trump would come in and do the whole thing of stopping the border. If Hillary Clinton was president, would have kept going. Joe Biden let in 12 to 20 million people additional. And all of these things are going to be recounted again and changed the next census. But the census connection drives home the stakes. This isn't just about individual votes. It's about congressional representation and electoral power for decades to come. So again, congressional seats are determined by about 750,000 people. Do the math into 40 million. That's how many extra seats are in Congress right now that shouldn't exist. From Rapid Response 47, it says, at POTUS, Democrats are very unhappy that there's a movement for voter ID. If you had voter ID, if you had proof of citizenship, they would never win an election. And they know that. They're fighting to the hilt. This is the hill they have to die on. They will not, if the Supreme Court says that the illegals don't count in the census, instead of 276 to win, it's going to go to like 230. And guess what? Republicans, we're going to do that every single time, probably for the next 40 years. Because we don't kill our babies.
Very unhappy that there's a movement for getting voter ID. They want voter ID. The population, 98%, want voter ID. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat in elections. They also want other things. They don't want mail-in ballots. They want to end mail-in ballots, which is corrupt. And one other thing that they're insisting on is proof of citizenship. And the Democrats don't want to give proof of citizenship. They don't want to give voter ID. Think of it. Who wouldn't want proof of citizenship? I ask you, Steve. Who wouldn't want voter ID? And why would you want mail-in ballots if you know it's corrupt? It's a corrupt system. We're the only country in the world that has this system of mail-in ballots. Think of it. The only country in the world that has this system of mail-in ballots because they cheat. And the fact is they could never get elected if they ever changed. They know it. If you had voter ID, if you had proof of citizenship, they could never win an election. And they know that, and they're fighting to the hill. And I put this down with men playing in women's sports. I put it down with transgender for everybody. I put it down with their horrible open border policy as being ridiculous. They don't want voter ID. No voter ID. And I put that down in the same category with men playing in women's sports. I'm going to add a fourth category. They don't want voter ID.
Which is incredible that they don't want voter ID. It's a shame and it's an embarrassment to the entire system that we have inside of our country. I don't even know what else to add to that, but just saying that the dam is breaking, guys. When a Democrat senator admits that opposing voter ID is indefensible, when polling shows 84% of Americans support basic election security, when even liberal strongholds are questioning mail-in ballot chaos, it's just chaos. They send out millions of ballots to people's homes and just trust that it's going to the right people. Illinois, for example, again, we know that they mailed 2 times to most people's houses, and half those ballots came back. And Trump didn't just win this argument. He's completely reframed the entire debate. So this is how real change happens, folks, not through backroom deals, but by forcing politicians to defend the indefensible until even their own party abandons them. And Fetterman's confession proves that Trump was right about Democrat election tactics all along. We knew it. We, the American people, knew this. The SAVE Act isn't just a policy anymore. It's a movement that's splitting the Democrat Party in real time. When their own senators start admitting the truth, you guys know the walls are crumbling, right? So here's my question. Do you think more Democrats will follow Fetterman and support voter ID, or will the party machine crush this rebellion? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And while you're engaging, check out the Next News merch shop for gear that shows you stand with election integrity and America First values. God bless.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this. Share this now.